good evening. Welcome to this very special edition of Sporty Spotlight. So tonight I have the pleasure of being joined by, okay, shall I put this? A university reporter and the head of the St. Louis Norwich City fan club. I mean, is that appropriate?
I guess that would be appropriate to say. I mean, I don't think there's another person in St. Louis, Missouri that loves Norwich City more than I do.
Fair enough.
Because I'm pretty sure I'm like the most loyal Norwich City supporter in St. Louis for sure.
Okay, well,
and of course Josh Sargent is from St. Louis. He's my favorite player.
So yeah,
it's awesome, man. So, yeah,
Brendan Brune makes his return, and newcomer Oliver Whitmore, who I'm very, very, very happy
Hello.
Tonight. Hey, right.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah.
Of course.
Yep. Thanks for having us on.
So,
if I was being like really nitpicky, technically I'm not at uni anymore because I just graduated recently.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. But yes, I was a university reporter, radio presenter with the university's radio station, the oldest independent radio station in the country. So that was a big honor. Lots of history, lots of fun times there with URY. And yeah, sport was my specialty, and I hope that will be the case moving forward.
Yeah. So speaking of sports, Norwich City's championship season commences on Saturday with a home clash against Tower Hamlets rivals Millwall. I suppose I could say that really. So the start of Liam Manning's promise to bring Norwich City back to bring Premier League football back to Carrow Road. So the first thing, which I think we should talk about, probably structure around the squad as well. So I've heard mixed things about this. The predicted lineup I've seen has been very, very different. Because I think it looks like Marcelino Nunez has been dropped, which rather surprised me. In the space for Mirko Topic, who, by the way, look at those muscles.
He looks like an absolute tank.
Yep. Yes.
So he looks like
he looks like he can truck those dudes over, man.
He looks
and
like
BBC Sport have actually reported on that. There was an article under Norwich City that was released earlier today.
Yep.
I think the headline was "People know about and love my biceps."
Tell you what,
I don't think there's ever been a story quite like that published to BBC
Sport. He's 24 years old, but he looks like the sort of bloke who's got 5 children all over the age of 16.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I was thinking the same thing when I was watching his introduction interview. I was like, this guy's 24. Okay, I'm 23. Okay. I'm 23. And Mirko Topic was 24. I was like, what? That's exactly what went by through. That's exactly what went through my head.
But yeah, of course, another thing that has been said, there's been a fair bit of this. I think now after this transfer window, which I think is the best one we've had in years, there is a lot more squad depth now, which is why players such as Anis Ben Slimani and Shane Duffy have reportedly been dropped from the starting 11 contention, which was confirmed. Ollie, of course, it's a bit. Of course, Brendan and I were talking about this, but it's a bit of debate around Shane Duffy. Of course, he is old, but he's very, very experienced at championship level, and I feel like he's got sort of a leader dynamic, but. Especially with how young our team was last year. So, how do you feel about him, just like being put aside from the starting 11, which for the first time in a while, really?
The defensive situation at Norwich at the moment is probably the most perplexing part of this rebuild entirely, considering how we may set up next season. Obviously, Shane Duffy played a very prominent role last season. As you said, he's a leader, naturally. He has got that charisma on field. He's got those leadership qualities to set up a good defense and keep that communication going in the box and in crucial areas when we're defending in the game. But of course, as you said, he is not getting younger. Nobody gets younger, ever. And he's probably not the best. I think we can all agree he's not the most technical footballer that we have seen come through the Norwich City ranks. And that might not be a bad thing if we aimed to play defensive football for the majority of the time. But we know that with the resources we've got and the resources that we've gained since the end of last season, that's not how we're going to set up. And we know from our knowledge of Liam Manning at MK Dons and Lommel and Bristol, etc., that's now how he wants to play either. He wants to play out the back. We've seen that a lot through preseason. So I think it's natural that this has happened. Particularly with the ball-playing defenders we have in our ranks now, with Jose Cordoba, Harry Darling, Jakov Medic. I had the pleasure of going off to Belgium, to Waregem, to watch them live, and they seemed very comfortable at their feet against a very different opposition that we will probably never play again, or for a good number of years at least. So I think he's out of the picture naturally, and I think he might understand that. I would honestly not be surprised if he does stick around as a backup option that plays in the cup games. I think he doesn't have too much of an ego. I think he's got that sense of humility, that sense of self-awareness that comes with a footballer of Shane Duffy's ilk. So, like you said, we have a lot of quality and depth now, particularly in our defence, which really poses the question of who's going to start and what shape that defence is going to be in. But as for Shane Duffy, I think he knows his role in the team now.
And going back to you wanted to discuss like the preseason structure, of course, players as young as me, literally, such as AJ Tavares, who is quite literally my age, which is ridiculous.
It's mental.
It feels like we always talk about players from like the academy getting game time and like everyone getting chances, and some certain players did look particularly good in preseason. Of course, you have this during preseason when like one player looks like prime Eden Hazard and then just doesn't play at all. But yeah, such as Errol Mundle-Smith, I thought he's looked very sharp in the last couple of games. And so, how likely is it, do you think, that like some of these players who have been able to shine in preseason are going to get any chances? Because of course, like you said, it is very competitive. Of course.
Absolutely. I think in the case of Aaron Mundle-Smith, he is definitely a player who I think will still be playing most of his football in the under-21s. The whole point of getting youth players out during these preseason matches is to test them against more difficult opposition, which they will not play throughout the entire season. And as we know, players don't get better unless they're tested against, well, at least very talented players who are still developing, don't achieve the peak that they can unless they play against people better than them consistently and get better that way than playing people worse than them. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if I see Aaron Mundle-Smith play the majority of his football in the youth setup with the under-23s or under-21s this season. That being said, I do think a appearance or some cameos, maybe even a start in the cup competitions, particularly in the earlier rounds against weaker opposition, is absolutely on the cards. I think he deserves it. He was excellent in Belgium, and he was the best player on the pitch. Unfortunately, for other players, particularly in the case of Brad Hills, I think he's going to be extremely frustrated because he's old enough to play for the first team, and he's miles better than his peers in the under-23s and under-21s. So does that mean that he'll play in the youth teams? No. Does that mean that he'll play for us? Also no, because we have signed better players than him, even as backups, potentially, if we go with that 4 at the back structure, which we have been playing throughout preseason, which is why I said the defence at Norwich is the most intriguing aspect of this rebuild. So, yeah, I do feel a bit sorry for Brad Hills because he's not going to get much game time, maybe not as much as he deserves, particularly after that season at Stockport. And then other youth players like Tavares, obviously he's 15 and is not going to play in the Championship at any point this season.
Him and I have got to prepare for our GCSEs. Yeah, of course.
That's just crazy, isn't it? Oh, it's mental. It's so insane.
God.
But hey, the future is bright at Norwich, clearly.
It is.
And as for the other players, in the youth setup that have actually been given squad numbers on the squad numbers list, we could very much see them in cameos this season. But I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see them very much this season, just because of the quality of players and the quality of young players that we signed this season. So our average age starting this season might not be that high, but it's not because we're starting them, unfortunately. I think it's just because we've found people better for now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's a funny case in the case of Brad Hills. Is I thought in pre-season last year he looked really, really sharp, really solid. Of course, got that goal against Hoffenheim. But then played in the Carabao Cup game against Stevenage, scored an own goal, but still had a relatively okay game, and then didn't play much. I think he got injured. I think he was just out for a while, and then made that mistake to led to Julio Enciso scoring that goal against us in the FA Cup for Brighton. So yeah, I wouldn't mind maybe seeing him go out to Stockport again, because if they want to go again, which I think they're going to be pushed to, and because of course falling short against Leighton in the playoffs last season, they'll be eager to go again. I mean, especially considering they were playing Lowestoft 5 years ago, and they'll have the drive to if first you don't see try again. But yeah, I'm just hope it all works out for him really. And if he does end up leaving because we can't give him the time, then that would be a massive shame. But it's all for the best really. So Brendan, you're hoping to touch upon the starting 11 for Saturday, of course. Like we've discussed so far, it's going to be heavily rotated. Is there anyone in particular, all the new signings or the people we had before that you're hoping to feature?
Okay, so Vladan Kovacevic in goal.
Hey.
Okay, we all want to see him, and when it comes to a goalie standpoint, Vladan Kovacevic is number one. Okay, Daniel Grimshaw is number two. Yes, and then of course Louis Malden will be three. Like I said, George Long, Archie Mayer, all those guys can walk. They're not part of the future. Center backs, Harry Darling and Yakov Madic. Okay, those two guys back there. Now, when it comes to the right back, I always change my position every time when it comes to Kellen Fisher or Jack Stacey, because both of them are good. But if you had to ask me, Jack Stacey has had the past 2 seasons in the championship. He's been absolute awesome player. I love his quality. He sprints up and down the sideline. He had some good crosses. I would like to have Jack Stacey on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, that's a little bit of a toss-up for me. I would like to see Lucian Mahovo back there. Maybe, get a little more game time under his belt, because he came into the squad because last season, right? Because we had because of the who got hurt last week on the left wing, and then Mahovo had to step in. You remember?
It was pre-season, really. I wasn't able to be in the game, but
yeah. So yeah, and then Yakov Madic and Harry Darling in center back, and then obviously when the sub on could be Jose Cordoba. In the midfield, obviously Jacob Wright, definitely I would want him. And then possibly Nunez. And then up top. Or does Liam Manning want to do 5-3-3? 1-5-3-3? Or do you know what his setup was, you think?
This is the interesting part of Liam Manning, right? Because
yes,
Norwich City fans, and EFL fans for that matter, will know Liam Manning for the manager who played the back three at Bristol and overachieved by getting them into the playoffs. You may assume that that's because of that was just the talent that he had in those positions at Bristol, and that's how he would get the best out of them. But he's played a back three elsewhere as well. MK Dons played a back three, had a lot of emphasis on the wing backs getting forward and build up plays through the defense and having ball playing defenders. But Bristol City, he actually started with a back four and had 1 win in 5 games to start the season last time, and then switched to that back three. And I think that's really interesting in terms of how that may translate over to the talent we have at Norwich City, regardless of internal matters of, Jose Cordoba, for example, you signed me for £3 million. Why am I not playing? which is a really interesting matter. So he has shown flexibility in past stints at Bristol and MK Dons. So we may see a back three, we may see a back four. It's entirely dependent on, I think, how the first 5 games go.
Okay, let's just not confirm that we'll. Okay, so we're not going to play a back 5 against Millwall, are we?
Based on our setups in preseason, I would say no.
Good.
Because if you wanted to spread the minutes as evenly as you could across all your defenders, you would start with the back 5 or back 3, and we didn't. And the only time I did see us switch to a back 3 in preseason was against NAC Breda for the last 15 minutes when Jose Cordoba came on. So I think if that was to be the desired setup for the start of the season, we would have played it more often, like no doubt.
Okay.
And then, so going back, if we had Kovacevic, so this is the way I see Kovacevic in goal. Then across back 4, we have Jack Stacey, Yakov Madic, Harry Darling, Lucian Mahovo. And then in the midfield, we've got Jacob Wright, Kenny McLean, Marcelino Nunez. And then the front 3, Josh Sargent, Ante Ciernats, and Josh Sargent will start Saturday against Millwall. He's not leaving this week. I'm very passionate about Josh Sargent, partly because I'm from St. Louis. So Josh Sargent up front, and then possibly who do I want that other? Oh, gosh, there's so many signings. It's like, do we want to start like players from last season, or do we want to give new players a chance right away? I mean, there's Svartau, there's Mate Jurasek. I mean, Pape Diallo. Yeah, you're right. Pape Diallo. I was thinking Jurasek, but yeah, Ciernats, Sargent, and Diallo up front. That's my starting 11. I would like to see.
Mr. Boone, that is a solid predicted starting 11. Mr. Ollie, do you have a Whitmore or less predicted start 11?
Oh,
yeah, what do you think,
okay. Man? A me branded starting 11. Okay. Well, possibly. Okay. I'm gonna go just based on prediction as to how I think he's gonna play and not how I would play. Because how I would set up the team versus how we think our own manager, who we have already, might set up is a way less interesting conversation to have. I think we are going to start a back 4. I do agree with that. We've seen that in preseason in our preparation.
Sure.
And I think that's how we're going to start. Obviously, Kovacevic in goal, no doubts about it. Signed him to be our number 1 keeper. Experience with Sporting in the Primera Liga. He's a quality character. I wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of him in an argument. I've seen clips of him in training, when they're doing the little warm-up games, and he's saying, I can do 400 push-ups right now, not a problem. So he's got, he's vocal enough, he's a leader, he's a shot stopper, get him in. Right back, 100% agree with Brendan here, Jack Stacey. I think he, going forward, is one of the best fullbacks we've had in recent years. Definitely one of the highlights under Johannes Hoftorp. We remember games like that Portsmouth game where we were atrocious and lost 5-3, but he scored that cracking finish into the top right and was bombing forward all game.
That was miserable.
It was, I didn't like it at all.
That was miserable.
But I think with how Liam Manning plays football, I think he would prefer Jack Stacey at right back, who has that experience anyway, and is also just a really good crosser and has a really good tackle on him. And most importantly, with this setup we're going to have, can bomb it up and down the right for minutes on end. So I think Jack Stacey is nailed on, as is Kovacevic. The 2 centre-backs, Harry Darling, I think starts. He was really, really impressive against Breda in the last preseason game. He can head the ball. He's really physical. His command of his opposition player is excellent, but he's also technical. He can pass the ball. His composure was excellent in and around the box. And I do think Medic also joins him purely because we have signed him to start. I think Cordoba maybe didn't show enough last season.
Right. Didn't really see
for the fee that we signed him for. Again, it sticks out on my mind is Sheffield Wednesday away with that 2-0.
Oh God,
he wasn't.
Don't talk about that. That was
painful. Bad memories, aren't I?
Yeah.
He, it was a simple ball in behind him, and he just didn't pick up his man. Wasn't quick enough to recover the space. and didn't block the shot. But let's ignore the fact that George Long was in goal. And of course, he wasn't that good passing the ball either. Making our way through the back was meant to be a staple of GHT's play as well. We didn't do it nowhere near as effectively against teams like Wednesday and teams who really should be beating. So I think Medic does start. We brought him in to be a starter. He's played for Ajax in the area. He has that experience. He's physical. He plays with the ball. So I think Darling and Medic match each other in a nice way. So I think they'll complement each other quite well. Left back, I don't think it'll be Mahovo, purely because he's not had enough minutes. He is just recovering from an injury. I think it would be quite optimistic to see him at this stage anyway in the season. I think it'll be Cullen Fisher. He can play both with his left foot and with his right foot, and is very, very good defensively. Possibly, and he likes to get forward as well. Obviously, he's not possibly as good at getting forward and putting crosses in as Stacey is, and maybe he won't do that as effectively on the left. But I do really rate the guy, and I think Manning does as well. Yeah. So,
yes,
I think.
Sorry,
Ranoff, you're busting here.
Sorry, well, when you're saying Cullen Fisher at left back, of course, when we were saying just on your point, he's much more effective at right back. Personally, I'd opt to rest him for this game and then play him in the Watford game in the Carabao Cup on the Tuesday. I don't really mind Kenny McLean at left back, personally. I mean, because, of course, we've got a lot in that midfield, and, of course, McLean has been the beating heart of that midfield for about 6 years now. But,
oh yeah,
I don't mind. He can play any position, really. We could put him in goal if we want him to. But, yeah, okay, please continue, Ollie.
Yeah, no, McLean actually, I mean, that's one of the most desirable parts of McLean's play is how versatile he is and how committed he is. Although I believe he is injured to start the season. Am I mistaken in thinking he's injured at the moment?
I saw him at the Lotus training facility on YouTube, but he wasn't he might still be nursing an injury. But I think because a lot of Norwich fans were saying that, it's good to see Kenny back on his feet. But but yeah, you're right. He was hurt because we didn't see him much out in training. But I mean, I don't know what the status of is now. But I think it is better. But maybe not right away till Saturday. But we'll see.
I think let's go out to the mayor.
Yeah.
Please continue.
So I think Fisher's the more likely option. A dark horse for left back, based on purely observation through pre-season and when I was in Belgium. Jose Cordoba, because he did start at left back, and he actually wasn't that bad. Matched up with Mundell Smith quite nicely, playing some passes out wide into him and into the channel. So he could slot in there because we know how capable he can be making passes forward, and I think it's a better position on the pitch to be making more high-risk passes into the channels and out wide, and being more likely to lose the ball from left back than centre back. So he's a dark horse, but I think Cullen Fisher is probably more likely. Two holding midfielders, Jacob Wright. Listen, he's future captain material.
Yep.
He chose Norwich over Man City.
Yes, come on.
And anyone else.
He wants a full stadium in Norfolk.
By the way, sorry. Quick side note: did you guys watch the podcast of Jacob Wright with Jack and Chris Reed?
It was excellent.
It was excellent. I loved it.
Yeah, really, really good. Great character. Really good ball player. So I think he will start in holding midfield. And then I think, the most tricky thing to decide out of the most tricky position to decide out of this entire prediction is probably who pairs him in midfield, because that would obviously be Kenny McLean, but he's injured at the moment. Marcelino Nunes could very much play there, but is not as much of a defensive player or physical of a player as the DM demands. So I think it'll be Topic straight off the back. He's not had preseason with us. I don't think that really matters. Look at the guy. He's going to destroy Millwall's midfield. George Stavel's luckily, he's thinking, blimey, I'm pleased that I've made the move away from Millwall so I don't have to play him,
Yeah, exactly. And he doesn't want us, and so we don't chant that certain chant at him again, which I won't. We really. But...
So, Yeah, I think Topic can absolutely hit the ground running. I mean, the guy doesn't even look like he needs a preseason. So I think he's all jokes aside, though, I think he is capable of hitting the ground running. Current international, doesn't know the Championship too well, but the main thing people cite about the Championship when they talk about players who, new signings who might need time to settle into the Championship is its physicality, and he's got that nailed down already. So I think he'll be fine.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it's a very physical league, and he looks like he drinks a litre of raw milk every hour.
So I think Topic is going to start alongside forgot his name, right.
Jacob.
Attacking mid, I think it's going to be Marcy Nunez. Manning, I think, to have been chosen as a new Norwich manager, would have had to have shown a good understanding and knowledge of our players before making all the signings, or before, I should say, given our structure at the club. Ben Napper made all the signings. I think, and at the end of last season under Jack Wilshere, even for those few games, Marcelino and Nunez in a more advanced position looked really, really good. I think that's where we can maximise his potential passing in between the lines, particularly into players as lethal as Josh Sargent. So I think he's probably more effective higher up, and I hope Liam Manning will recognise that. So I think he'll play in the number 10. I'm going to get this out of the way. Josh Sargent is going to start. I really like the approach that Manning has taken to Josh Sargent, because we know he's a model professional. We know that he's not going to throw his toys out the pram and not turn up to training and go AWOL and not start games. Yep. I won't mention the obvious player here. Because I'm sick of mentioning him enough, as many times as I have. He's a model professional, and I think he will stay at Norwich and put in 100% effort in games, in training, in every aspect of being a Norwich player until he leaves, like right before he has to go for his medical elsewhere. And I think, as you say, Ranulph, at the start or towards the start of the podcast, I think he will stay at least this week. So I think he'll start. He's nailed on. There's no striker better at the club than he is. On the left, Ante Cernac played really well against Breda, scored the goal, obviously, with his left foot, cutting in from the left. Really, really composed
finish. This
is
his year. He's going to be good this year.
Yeah, I think there's a really good chance of that. Again, he's kind of like Jose Cordoba. We signed him for big money, at least as far as Norwich's finances pre-Atanasio go. Mm-hmm. And we didn't really see enough from him. He wasn't as consistent as we would have hoped, particularly for the number of games he started, because he was a main starter. But I guess that's probably due to the striker and winger problem that Norwich had in the past season, because we didn't really have anyone to back up the injured players we had before Dobbin came in anyway. So I think Cernac will start. He's lethal with his left foot. He can cut in. I think we're probably likely to see him used as an inside forward with how attacking our wing backs want to be. So I think that's going to be his role in the team. Finally, right inside forward, I should say, or at least how I think Manning's going to do it. This is interesting because we saw Diallo for the first time against Breda. He missed a sitter. He missed an absolute sitter. Should have done a lot better. Should have got on target. His minutes have not been a lot. He hasn't been training that much with the team and with the coach. So do I think he's going to start? No, because he needs more time to get up to match fitness. Or maybe maybe he's match fit already because of his preseason time with in Liga. But I think he just needs more time to actually see the system before he is then a part of the system. So who do I think is going to play instead? It's going to be Mathias Kvistgaarden. Signed him for big money. One of the best, if not the best, signing that Ben Napper made this season. That miracle £6.9 million release clause he found somehow weeding through the depths of that contract. Miracle work. Really, really good job from Ben Napper. We know that he has played in Europe before, and he has numbers in Europe. He's scored in Europe. He was, I believe, Brøndby's best attacking outlet last season. It was really his breakthrough season. Excuse me. Thank you. So I think he's gonna, similarly to Topic, he's played at a level that will enable him to hit the ground running as well. So I think it'll be Kvistgaarden in that role as well. So to sum up, because we've kind of gone in a couple of circles around this team, Kovacevic in goal. From right to left in the defence, we're looking at Jack Stacey, Harry Darling, Josip Medic and Cullen Fisher. 2 holding midfielders of Jacob Wright and Topic. Nunes in the number 10. Ante Cernic out left. Kritz Garden out right. And through the middle will be Josh Sargent, my beloved.
Sounds good. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
That all sounds good.
So yeah, thank you both of you for those two. They're very solid starting 11s. Just one thing I wanted to talk on. Topic of Marcelino Nunez. Of course, he was. I'm a bit like mixed on where his future's going to be. Really, hang on. We're just connections being a bit odd. Can you still hear me? Okay, Ollie.
Perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit. His future. I think his future is going to be a bit mixed now because, of course, Onel Hernandez has now left, and of course, he's still around the club, and I think he still lives in Norfolk. But we all know that Nunez's English isn't great, and I felt like he was the most comfortable around Hernandez, like around Onel, like while he was here. And now he's gone, and now he's gone, he might be looking for a move somewhere else. I mean, it'll be really, really sad to see him go, but like it honestly just depends on like where he feels the most comfortable, really, and if he's not able to work in an environment that he can thrive in, or like feel like he's able to like do okay, like able to hold his own in, because of course I felt like Onel was the foundation for him for a while, and now that foundation's gone, he needs to build his own. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting season from him. But yeah, can you see anything happening at all with him? Because of course now that Onel's left, it feels like he's sort of lost that comfort zone for him, which is sad to see him go, of course. And I'd love to see Hernandez maybe stay on as a coach or something. But yeah, I feel like I want to see we all want to see him do well, but it's just the environment's completely changed now for him, really.
Yeah, so for me, it was, obviously the last game of the season, this is what I remember. I remember just crushing Cardiff at Carrow Road. Nunez he scored twice that game, right? It was he scored on a free kick, and then he also tapped one in. So, going into the summer, this is how the transfer market was going. Is going into the summer, we're likely going to lose Sargent, Signs, and Nunez. Okay, well, we lost Signs, Sargent's still here, and Nunez is still here. But there has not been any transfer buzz around Marcelino Nunez. There has not been anything. I mean, I've never seen, clubs are interested in Marcelino Nunez, or there hasn't been any rumors going around. But I think Nunez is, still at the club. I mean, from what I can see, he's still enjoying his football. But yes, Renault, to your point, he was always around Onel Hernandez. Onel Hernandez YouTube channel was mostly he and Marcelino walking around Norfolk, taking pictures, getting their tattoos and all that. Well, obviously with the fans around. But yeah, you're right. Now that Hernandez is gone, hopefully, like you said, maybe he could stay here. But, I do like Marcelino Nunez. He's class. He's a great footballer. I think he scores goals when they're necessary, and I love his free kicks.
We all do, Brandon.
But yeah, I think Marcelino will stay. I think Josh Sargent is still here. I know he's close with Sargent. I know they're not, at each other's throats. That's for sure. But I could see Nunez staying. There's not really much, case to get him out of the club anytime soon. So that's kind of the way I see it. There just hasn't been much activity about Nunez this summer that leads me to believe that he would be leaving Norwich.
Yeah. Ollie, just in case you can, your camera's going a bit haywire, but you still there, mate?
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, as long as we can still hear you.
As long as you can hear me, that's fine.
Yeah. I was just hoping to get back onto the subject of Sinats. Ante Sinats. Well, I feel like a large reason as to why, he wasn't like at the levels, like at those levels that we're hoping to see him hit this season, last season, is because of confidence. And I think a huge boost to that is going to be the fact that we've signed Jakov Medic. Now, of course, in his interview, Medic did say that it's nice that there's another Croatian on the team, and he said that he hopes that him and Sinac can be good friends, and I really hope they will be too, because those two, of course, they're playing completely different areas of the field, but such an important thing. I mean, you don't need to have watched Ted Lasso to know how important a good relationship within the changing room is, and I feel like this is going to be Sinac's season too, and Medic will be there for him. I think they have the potential to be there for each other, and I really hope we can see good things from both of them. Like, although they're different parts of the field, but yeah, it's all the same, really.
Yeah, I think Cernac is, like I said earlier, Cernac didn't hit the heights that we know he can hit last season, and I think he knows that too, as much as we do. It's a really intriguing topic you bring up, actually, the language barrier in football, because it's probably one of the most, if not the most overlooked aspect of making signings and bringing new people in to form the core of your team, really. Obviously, as you said, you had Marcelino Nunes and Hernandez, who both spoke the same languages and were very close. Interestingly enough, when Topic signed for the club, in his interview that was put onto YouTube and onto Canaries.co.uk, he did cite all of the players who speak the same language as him, being Ante Cernac, Kovacevic, and Josip and Medic as well. So I think having that common thread between teammates is a crucial part of your, not just kind of how you perform on the pitch, but your day-to-day life as well. You live, breathe, and sleep and dream about football, and so that obviously translates to how you do in training and the relationships you form with your teammates, which is so crucial for hitting the heights on the pitch. So yeah, I mean, this is really intriguing to me as someone who did linguistics. It's such a core, essential part of your being generally. We form not just connections between people using language, but we form groups about how we use it. And it really does help to have a common language to form these groups. It's quite a meta way of thinking about it almost. But yeah, I think now that they will have friends immediately within the team. Might be a problem, as you say, for Nunes, but Jose Corda, of course, is also a Spanish speaker, so potentially that may be less of an issue. Although you can't just replace Onel, that's just ludicrous. But yeah, I think Cernac will hit heights. I think the language barrier being broken is a big factor in that. Hopefully, it won't be as much of an issue for Nunes, who I think we should make another core aspect of this team going forward as well. But Cernac, I think the sky's the limit.
Yeah, me too. So we're all hoping. So I was just hoping to mention a couple of things that are going on just around football as it is, or just beyond Norwich, of course. First thing, this is two things that have just been going on that really need to be talked about. I feel like we're talking about these things because Sky Sports aren't. So, for example, of course, there's all been these rumours around where Alexander Isak is going to end up. Of course, he has said he wants to leave Newcastle, but they don't seem to care about what's been going on at Morecambe. So yeah, can I ask, Ollie, you did your university. You went to the University of Derby, right?
It was the University of York, but uni, isn't it?
But yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's no one seems to.
I'm not offended. Don't worry.
Morecambe are going under, effectively, it seems, and this sort of thing has happened so many times within football. It happened to Bury, and it almost happened to Derby, which is why I was. But yeah, it happened to those two. Bury, of course, are on the up again, and they've made a very, very classy gesture as to letting Morecambe fans into their game on Saturday for free. But the fact this happened again, and it's happening at Sheffield Wednesday as well. We'll get onto it in a minute. It's just ridiculous, and the fact that the FA have done nothing about it in the last couple of months, and it's just sickening, really. They don't have a. They might not have a
it
club.
really is. I'm gonna let Brendan take the lead on this one whilst I turn my light on in my room.
Fair enough. Go on, Mr. Boone. Of course, you know.
Okay, so going into touching just a little bit on Morecambe FC. So like I knew that they were in the National League. I knew they spent all those seasons in League Two. Like I didn't really know about that, but the thing is that like Morecambe, I mean, obviously that's I don't know much about the club, so I'll just touch on it just for a little bit. But Morecambe, I mean, no one wants to lose their football club. I mean, it's like it's been around for 100 years, and now it's just gone. Obviously, there's Morecambe fans, so clearly, you know, just that's not your ideal situation. But I didn't like to see that the other day that like a football club is gone because. You know, we're all Norwich fans, and we know what it's like to support a football club. And if that happened to our club, like you feel for those fans, okay? So now we got to go into the big story. We've got to talk about Sheffield Wednesday. Now, this is a really, really sad thing to see, okay? Because Hillsborough is, you know, historical, okay? Sheffield Wednesday is a historical club. They're the Owls. They've got good fans, and the owner, Davon Chansiri, is just putting them in an absolute financial, historical crisis. And it's only getting worse because players like Josh Windass, Michael Smith, Max Lowe, and Jamal Lowe are likely to leave. The worst one, I think, is Danny Roll. Danny Roll left because players not being paid on time, unpaid wages. It is absolute atrocity because here's the thing. Everybody now, when we predict 1 through 24, Sheffield Wednesday will finish 24th. And also, a point deduction probably will come this season. Sheffield Wednesday will likely get handed a point deduction by the EFL for not paying players on time, unpaid wages. So it's only getting worse, and Davon Chansiri won't sell the club because he's asking for this astronomical amount. And it happened the same thing with Reading. You know, Reading was run by Dai Yoon-gae. But obviously, he eventually did sell the club to an American. But so Reading, in that case, got saved. But with Sheffield Wednesday, I just cannot – I feel so bad for their fans right now because, you know, Sheffield Wednesday, I mean, I like the club. They're a good club. You know, they've been in – I mean, back in the 90s, they were in the Premier League. They were up there. And then they fell down. But just what's going on at Sheffield Wednesday right now is just – I just don't like how, you know, Windass and all those guys are departing. And if you look at their squad, it's just they only have 2 goalkeepers right now. One's 20 years old and one's 21 years old. And I don't even know who the 20-year-old is. And, yeah, those are my thoughts on it. It's just I just feel for those fans. And Hillsborough, the stadium, and it's just, I mean, I can't imagine what it's going to be like at Leicester on Sunday. I'm sure there's going to be protests all around Sheffield, and yeah, I mean that's the way I see it. Davon Chansiri needs to sell the club to save it because that's the only way it's going to get solved. Because it's not going to go away anytime soon due to the amount of money that he's asking for.
I mean, with the way
Brent, I mean, you're preaching to the crowd, really.
Really does.
You really are preaching to the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, with the way it's going, it still remains to be seen whether or not that game at Leicester's even going to go ahead. Yeah, of course, like Ollie.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like this sort of thing was happening at Derby, of course, which we've already talked about. Like, it's just ridiculous. How are the FA like still letting owners get away with this sort of thing? It's appalling.
Yeah.
I think, the worst thing for me, really, the worst kind of, because there have been multiple headlines on this, and there have been many news outlets that have been covering it because it's one of the biggest stories right now, and it's following on from this kind of continuing narrative of owners coming in not having the proper regulation to kind of check on the financial practices at different clubs they take over and then ruining them.
True.
I mean, the worst thing, the most egregious thing that Shansiri's done, besides just hanging on to the club too long, knowing full well he can't put as much money into the club as he did in his first few years when they were pushing for the Premier League, was sell the stadium to himself. Which is just it's crazy. There's a whole news article about it. I won't delve too much in on it right now because there are bigger fish to fry than the owner ruining the club, and that's the fans, because they've sold out their trip to Leicester, which is incredible. And it really reminds you that the core of these clubs will always be the fans, but some owners don't take that into nowhere near as much account as they need to, because football is a tough industry. It's a tough stop, and there is often, if not no money to be made from football outside of the Premier League and the Championship. And even in the Championship in the bottom half, you're not making that much money, or at least the comparison is just not even worth making between Premier League clubs, even finishing bottom of the Prem. I think patient zero. I mean, we've had really bad owners come in and ruin clubs prior to this, I'm sure. But patient zero for me really was Leyton Orient in 2017-18 with Francesco Buchetti. There's a really, really good short-ish documentary that Copper 90 released on their YouTube channel about Leyton Orient and what happened there. Excellent video, really good piece of journalism. I really encourage both of you and our listeners to seek it out as well. It's excellent. And that really puts the fans and their perspective into focus more so than anything, more so than the speculation into the kind of inner workings of their downfall. And it gives them the stage really to voice what situations like this do to people. I mean, obviously, you could argue there's a question of bias there, because if you need to talk about the perspective of the fans, of course, and promote that as much as you can. But if you overlook if you do that without kind of actually doing the due diligence on the narrative as a whole and of what is precisely happening on the other side with the EFL, with the actual owner, there could be some questions raised as to certain aspects of your case. But I mean, obviously that doesn't affect the case for these Wednesday fans, because we have what full well is happening. That has been well documented by the media generally. Obviously, there's been much talk of an independent regulator coming into football. I think it's absolutely needed, mainly because the EFL, this is the thing that really caught me, right? The EFL basically were, reached out to by BBC Sport and other outlets, and they basically said, "What do you think about this?" And they came back and said, "We are concerned that Sheffield Wednesday aren't going to be able to field a team to open this fixture." That really got to me, because they're clearly being asked a question, or they're most likely being asked a question of, what do you think? Not what are you going to do, or why weren't there measures in place to stop this previously from happening? That is, I think, the biggest issue with situations like this, is that they're not prevented before they happen. At what point do they happen? When the owner buys the club, not when these situations, not when financial crises actually hit the media. So I think it's really on bodies to be able to preempt issues like this and actually do the due diligence on owners buying clubs, than just kind of sitting back and going, "Well, you're not complying with our rules. Here's a point deduction." It doesn't help clubs. No. It makes their situations worse.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think as we've kind of spoke about with different pieces of media covering similar stories, it's always the fans that have to pay the price, right? Because they pay for no amount of money, or very little amount of money, to be made by the club in terms of the profit they turn over. And then in cases like Bury, and soon Morecambe, which is just unbelievable as well, they won't have a club. So it's the fans who are paying to, the fans are paying to see their club going down in flames. And it's always them that pay.
It is them. It's always us. It's always the working class that pay in a capitalist society, really. So just getting on to hopefully what we can do. Hopefully today, if or tomorrow, hopefully on my TikTok account, I'll have a prediction of I think Norwich's first 5 games or so up on there. I'm just wondering, guys, do you have any good ideas for forfeits? Prediction forfeits. That's what we're bringing back.
For what was it? Sorry.
So I'm doing predictions, and if I get them wrong, I have to do a certain forfeit. Do you have any good ideas?
I think it's got to be, it's got to be football themed, or it's got to be themed around actually going to matches.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and
just having this big indicator, like just following you around, going, I really mucked up on this one. Yeah, I should be much better at this than I am currently, because I spent a year in radio production just thinking up ideas for different bits. Let me see. I could be really mean and say wear an Ipswich shirt around the place.
yeah.
You can make it more subtle, and you can make it more subtle and just wear like lots of blue and white, and see if people question what you're wearing. No, like Ipswich memorabilia, no nothing, but like have like a blue scarf and have like a blue jacket and a white top and a blue tie or something, and see if how many weird looks you end up getting.
Well, I'll have a think about it. What we usually do with when Daniel's here, although at the moment he's currently skiving on holiday. At the moment, I'm joking. But yeah, that's why he's not here today, and that's why he's not there on Saturday. But yeah, I might as well just start with some predictions. So first one, of course, Norwich City up against Millwall. So, Brendan, you've been quiet for a bit. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, for sure. So the Millwall game?
Yep.
Okay. Norwich 2, Millwall 1. Goals scored by Josh Sargent and Harry Darling.
Sargent and Darling. All right. Okay. All right. That's quite a bold one.
Harry Darling's gonna be new at Norwich. He's gonna score. He's gonna score a goal at the top of the box, the top of the D. He's gonna score.
Hey. Okay. All right, Monsieur.
He's gonna power it in there.
All right, Monsieur Whitmore.
Okay. I'm gonna be a bit bold here. I mean, I think a lot of times the case is what your heart's saying, what your head's saying. You have to go with what your head is saying. So I'm going to go with what my head is saying. Millwall don't score.
Okay.
They don't score. We win 2-0. It's going to be a nice, clean start to the game. We're at home. That's where the majority of our form has been for years, all throughout the GHT era, despite how seemingly bad we were defensively. So I think it'll be 2-0. I think Sargent is the most obvious goal scorer that you could possibly predict for this fixture. And I think the other one will be scored. I think he's going to get both of them, actually. I think it's going to be a double. It's going to be a double for Sargent. A nice little opening day salvo from the big man. I think assists are probably going to come from Jacob Wright, and I'm going to say Ante Sernets.
Fair enough. That'll be a great start. Now,
all right.
I know we don't usually talk about this lot, but this is a hate watch I will be doing on Friday night with my brother down at the pub. Birmingham City versus Ipswich Town opening night. Now, this one's had a lot of. There's been a lot of bit.
Oh my gosh!
Okay, about Tuber Apcom here. All right. If I may, I'll go first on this one. Oh God, here we go. You know, they say go with what your heart's telling you and what your head's telling you. So I need to do my one for Millwall. I'm gonna go the same as Oliver. I'm gonna go with a 2-0. Then I'm gonna go with Sargent, of course, and yeah, I'll go with a Sargent double, same as you. Okay, right. Birmingham. Oh, no. Birmingham versus Ipswich. Oh, God, right. I need to think about this one, Ollie.
Okay. The weird thing is, right? I mean, I'm very guilty of not doing Birmingham side nowhere near as much as I should. Currently, there's been a lot of excitement around Birmingham. I've seen many content creators, journalists predict them to do very well. I think Ben HD, of course, is the famous CFL YouTuber, predicted them to finish quite high. Other people, I've seen a lot of other third place predictions for Birmingham City, which is always a bit bold for a newly promoted side, especially into a division as tough as the Championship. I think Ipswich will probably be fine. They have obviously lost a couple of players and they've made some additions where they need to, particularly in defence. But we just can't forget the assets they've managed to hold on to. And so I think Ipswich will. I think they may well have a heart and mouth moment at one point. And so for that reason, I'm going to go 3-1 to Ipswich Town. I think they've still got loads of goals in them. I wouldn't be surprised if they win the league, as much as I hate to say that.
Yeah.
They have the strongest team.
Right.
And the quality of the league has gotten worse with who's gone up.
That is true.
And they got Kieran McKenna.
Yeah.
So I think 3-1, really.
Okay, fair enough. Brendan, you got one?
Okay, and quick question. Is Nathan Broadhead still an Ipswich player, or did he go to Wrexham?
He's gone to I think he's gone.
Okay, so he's not at Ipswich anymore.
Yeah,
well, he may well be in the process of going, but I think it'd be far-fetched to assume that he'll start or be in the squad.
All right, so here's the thing. Now, this is a newly promoted League One side who's come up, and this is a Premier League team that's come down, and they're both meeting on opening night at St. Andrews. Now, Ollie, you mentioned you got to go with what your heart tells you and not what your head tells you, because your head, you learn something new every day. I never really thought of it like that before. So my head says that Birmingham is going to beat Ipswich on opening night at St. Andrews 2-1.
Oh,
okay, but my heart is saying it's opening night of the championship. It's at St. Andrews. Birmingham is strong, but Ipswich are also very strong. So realistically, you can fancy. I can see both teams scoring. I can fancy either side, but I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw to kick off the night.
Right.
I think I'm gonna kick it off with a 1-1 draw. I feel like it's going to be a good atmosphere, but I think just one side will score. I think Ipswich will probably go up 1-0, and then Birmingham will equalize like late in the game. And I think they're going to be like, "Oh, we equalized on opening night against Ipswich." I think it'll be a 1-1 draw.
I've gone with a 2-2. Yeah, like a bit of an exciting one on opening night, of course.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to see 4 goals in the opening night of the championship.
Yeah,
that's always nice.
Of course, Ollie's your one would make for a very unsuccessful hate watch, but yeah, I've gone with
very.
I've gone with a logical. I've gone sort of. I think we've all gone logically here, so it's all right. Now moving on to the other fixture that seems to be spoken about. Well, before we move on from the championship, Southampton versus Wrexham. Now, if I may...
I find it quite odd that they keep... I just find it odd. Sorry to butt in, but I just find it really bizarre. I've been meaning to get this off my chest. I find it really, really bizarre how... Because obviously, when they decide the fixtures, they put it through a fancy computer and it generates them all, right?
Yeah.
Why do the promoted sides keep playing some of the best teams on opening weekend? Norwich had that twice against Liverpool in 3 seasons, twice in 2 Premier League seasons. Yeah. We played Liverpool and got smashed. And now we're seeing it with, and we saw it with Liverpool as well, playing Leeds a few years ago when they first got promoted. And everyone had Patrick Bamford in their FPL team. Long gone are those days now, of course. But now we're seeing it with Birmingham, Ipswich, and also Southampton, Wrexham. So the pattern is consistent across the division.
Makes
as
you
well.
wonder, doesn't
I
it?
don't know why this keeps happening, because I mean it's just there's something to be said about getting off on the right foot for a promoted side, especially, and you go and pair them against or the computer that generates all these fixtures pairs them against the worst possible opposition to start the season, and it keeps doing this. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
because you know what? It's just like Ipswich Town. Ipswich Town last season in the Premier League faced Liverpool at Portman Road,
Yeah, that was the first.
and then they went to the Etihad game 2. In 2021-2022, we faced Liverpool at Carrow Road, and then we went to Etihad week 2, and we got absolutely smashed.
That was bad.
It's like, yeah, you're right. Newly promoted sides are always facing the top teams first.
Yeah, it always happens there. I guess they want to give. I guess they want to give them, like a decent taste of how the season's going to go. Really. For this one, yeah, Southampton Wrexham. Honestly, this is going to just be, against Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney's ideal Hollywood script. Southampton are going to get Southampton are going to give Wrexham a welcoming to the Championship they're never going to forget. I'm going to go with a 4-1 Southampton there. I mean, this is going to spark debate, of course. Brendan, you got what you got?
Southampton 3, Wrexham 1.
All right, 3-1. And
Wrexham, League 1 is not the Championship.
No, it's not. It's really not. Don't we know? And Oliver.
Yeah.
So this is a really intriguing fixture because it poses two teams of completely different quality before the transfer window opened. We should stress here against one another. Wrexham's business this window has been really, really smart. Obviously, signings like Connor Cody, Premier League, bottom half, maybe bottom 3. Let's say top end Championship quality defender would have gotten a reckoning at Leicester still potentially. Should he have stayed and would have been happy to feature in the odd game. We know he would have been nailed on as cover for an injured centre back, right? One of their best signings this summer, if not the best, maybe it's one of their best for a long while. Kiefer Moore, also announced in the last few days, proven top-end Championship striker, with Ipswich, of course, and then with Sheffield United, banging in goals. Really, really good player, target man, which may well be that system that they adopt, where it's just about balls are going to be flying into the penalty area. They're going to try. It's not going to be pretty. No. They're going to try and cause as much kind of uncertainty for their opposition as they can, and there's no better place to do that than at home when you've got the fans behind you. Do I think they have a chance of winning? No, I don't. Do I think it'll be pretty on Southampton's end? Absolutely not. They are coming off the back of one of the worst Premier League seasons we've ever seen. Numerically, the second worst. They were atrocious in the Premier League. They were worse than the worst performing Norwich team when we went up and spent shy of £2 million. So I think they are going to beat Wrexham. They are going to struggle. It's going to be a really, really bad, ugly, kind of rife with mistakes 1-0 win for Southampton. Okay. Wrexham are going to come short. Wrexham are going to come just short of teams like this. They will beat teams that are going to be in and around that relegation spot at home, and I think it may well be their home form that would keep them up this season. Excuse me, getting overexcited here. So yeah, do I think they can win? No. Do I think Southampton can win? Yes, but not very well. It'll be 1-0. They will struggle. Wrexham will make a good account for themselves, and I'm sure they'll do the same moving forward.
Yeah, but I mean, with signings like not only like Connor Cody, but also Ryan Hardy, I think is, despite the team that he was in, I think he's a proven number 9 at this level. Of course, maybe overlooked, but got that penalty, of course, against Liverpool, and I saw him score a brace against us, which was really. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting season for Wrexham. I still need to watch season 4, which I haven't. I don't know why I haven't done already, but yeah, it will be an interesting one for certain. So moving on to probably the last one, because of course we've got to cut it off because we're getting a bit over time. The last prediction. Now this one's going to be a bit of an odd one because it's a bit out of the blue, but I always like to just do like one top end Premier League one. Okay, and this is the one I had in mind. Okay,
Of course.
Manchester United versus Arsenal. Right. Now
You probably couldn't have picked a better one, to be fair.
yeah, well, in that case, Mr. Whitmore.
So is this August 15th?
Yes. All right,
Perfect.
Mr. Whitmore, would you like to take the first go?
Yeah, this is going to be chaos. This game is going to be absolute chaos. There's going to be goals. Man United, again, are quite an intriguing case because they have made some good signings this summer. They've used the money quite smartly, bringing in players like Matheus Cunha and Brian Mbeumo, players that they full well knew were at the top of their game at their respective clubs and would be wanting to move on. Although potentially you could see, based on, I mean, possibly not. This won't be the case come the end of last season, this season potentially. But last season, Mbeumo from Brentford to Man United, more of a sideward step than a step up. So it's an intriguing one. Man United are a team who have good players. They're not a good team. And Arsenal are a really good team. So I think Arsenal are going to win. The individual talent that Man United have, I think, will cause problems, but they are away from home. I think Arsenal will win. They're going to win 2-1. Excuse me. They're going to win 2-1, but it's going to be end-to-end chaos as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Brendan, okay, yeah, it will certainly be end-to-end.
Yeah. So I agree with Ollie. I think there's going to be goals. Obviously, the business. I mean, I love Brian Mbeumo. Brian Mbeumo is one of my favorite Prem players. I love watching him at Brentford. But just at the end of the day, Arsenal is the better team right now. I don't see. Is this at Old Trafford or is this at Emirates?
Old Trafford.
I believe it's at the Emirates.
Oh wait, is it? Wait, hang on. I'll have to.
I was wrong.
Oh yeah, no, it is at Old Trafford.
Okay, it is at Old Trafford. Okay,
I was wrong.
It is at Old Trafford,
Right.
and okay, it is at Old Trafford. Obviously, the likes of Brian Mbeumo, the additions, but Arsenal is just the better team, and obviously with Ruben
Amorim.
Amorim.
Yeah.
Sorry, forgot his last name. So Ruben Amorim, obviously he's gotten his foot in the door in Manchester United. He's still trying to get his feet together at the club. Obviously, I think he's a good manager. He's going to keep them up. But right now, Mikel Arteta and that Arsenal squad, they're just too strong. I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal in that game.
All right, yeah. Both of you, of course, have said that Arsenal are a much stronger team, but we mustn't forget Arsenal are also Arsenal. Now, okay, I know what you might say about this. Of course, Mr. Black has, of course, profited off the tears of Arsenal fans on TikTok, and he's been able to travel the world around it with it, which is absolutely incredible. Yeah, thing is, though, I feel like, of course, they have made some incredible signings. Victor Gyökeres, of course, that is statement. That is absolute statement. Of course, he had teams from we had stronger European teams after him. But yeah, this one's gonna be a one. I feel like Man United always seem to start well. Of course, signing of Cunha and Mbeumo, which the latter took a bit longer to get over the line. But yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. But United always seem to start the season well. They got a good opening win last season against Fulham. And you know what? I'm going to disagree with both of you. I'm going to go for 1-0 United. And similar to how Joshua Zirkzee got a debut goal last season, I'm going to go with a debut goal for Brian Mbeumo. Now, this it's going to be an odd one, of course. Of course, Mikel Arteta is probably tactically still a superior manager, but I feel like Ruben Amorim is able to stay more calm under pressure, because you do see those videos of Arteta throwing his toys out of the pram a couple of times, and Amorim, of course, doesn't like the fact that they've got a chant for him. They think that he thinks he should be on about the team. He seems like it is a very odd one, but I think we're just going to get a bit of chaos, and I think United are going to get the edge on the first day. And of course, that does not say what's going to happen for the rest of the season, but it does remain to be seen, really. So, yeah, I think we should probably wrap this up because we've been going for a very long time. Both of you, Brendan and Oliver, thank you very much for coming on tonight. Please make sure to go and follow both of these guys on Instagram or just wherever. And yeah, please make sure to subscribe, and it just massively helps us out. If you're up for it, I'll leave a link to the nominations for the Football Content Awards. They close very soon on the 17th, so please do get them in as quickly as you can. So yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Really hope you have enjoyed. I'll have this up as soon as possible. So yeah, please make sure to like and subscribe and follow, do all that good stuff. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. See you all on Saturday, and hopefully I'll have the vlog out promptly. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. On the ball,
Take care,
City.
guys.
Come on.